Today on the Boot Guy, we're talking about the Timberland Pro Boondocker 8-inch insulated winter goodness. When Timberland Pro first released the 8-inch Boondocker, this was something that guys laughed at because of how big it looked, because of this big rubberized toe, all this heavy duty leather, this thick sole, and just everything about this boot really added to the giggle factor. And then guys started buying it, and then guys started using it for its intended use, which is cold ass weather. This boot, if it's above 40 degrees, it does you no good. This boot is going to be horrible, mainly because it's got 600 grams of Thinsulate built into it. And when you have 600 grams with leather this thick and all this other extra stuff, you're really creating a really warm work boot. Now, it's a dual density sole, but it's also the anti-fatigue dual density sole. So when Timberland builds a dual density sole, they do multiple layers, and it's almost like a triple density or 4 densities, because it's got a sew down welt. Though it's not resolable or recraftable, they still add the sew down welt so you get a better step. See that tread pattern? Not only is this a great tread pattern for snow and ice and just broken up ground like that, but it's also a mixture that is freeze resistant. So it's going to have to get pretty damn cold, maybe in the -10 to -12 area. And I use these numbers for general temperature. Most of us couldn't really handle anything at -10. You really got to be dedicated to being out there when it's that cold. There has to be no wind. It's a really difficult temperature to be outside at. But Timberland, with this sole, they made this anti-freeze proof sole, and it really works. This is one of those soles that as it gets cold, as it's in the single digits and you're walking around on concrete, usually with other soles the material slows down, it becomes harder. This stays nice, soft, and supple, and you get really good traction. So it's Pro Series, so that means that they used a Pro Series type leather, so it's going to be a nice, thick, oil tanned leather, and it is. It is some really, really good looking stuff. The rubberized toe, well, that rubberized toe is probably one of the best parts about the boot. The fact that they did this huge chunk of material and they stitched into it, and it kind of pulls back a full inch beyond that stitch line. So there's no way that you're going to really rip this off or rip through that. Eyelids and laces, it's Timberland Pro, so they're perfect. They're good. They use that pass-through speed lace on a lot of the other Timberlands. Except on this one, there's no locking mechanism. So if you're taking your boots on and off and you got to leave your gloves on, it's going to be possible. For the pure waterproofness of this boot, it comes from the waterproof Timberland Pro membrane. And it's a really good membrane. It's been time tested by now. They've been using the same membrane now going on 5-6 years, and there's really been no complaints about boots leaking or anything like that. Most of the time, when guys complain about this boot leaking, what's happening is they're sweating because you got 600 grams of Thinsulate, waterproof membrane, and this super thick leather. There really is no transference for moisture to leave this boot. This is one of those boots you're going to need a boot dryer for to have it dry for the next day. Like I said, it's an anti-fatigue Timberland, so whenever it's anti-fatigue, that means you're getting one of these. Yeah, that's the really nice anti-fatigue insole from Timberland. The only drawback with it being a waterproof boot is there's no perforations in it, so you're not moving air around. But this insole doesn't really move that much when it's inside the boot. Timberland has a few nice touches that almost never get pointed out when people are talking about the Boondocker. And that's the way they pad the collar. The collar is padded in sections on the inside, so it allows movement and flexibility. Now, it's not overly padded, and it's a good thing because you're going to be wearing thermal socks with this thing, so you're already going to have some padding coming up your ankle from the socks. Your polypropylene liner, you're going to have all that on, so you don't want too much. But the way they did pad it, it makes a lot of sense that it's padded in individual sections for flexing and moving. Getting this boot on and off daily, Well, most of the time they put a boot pull back here. But what Timberland did to make this thing really easy to get on is they added these. So right here, you get these boot pulls built into the side of the boot. And it's a good chunk of thick leather, and it's backed. It's backed with a nylon material. And you know what? This shows up on this boot, it shows up on their loggers, it shows up on a few of the other products, and this is a really good idea because it just hides. Your pants fall right over this, your insulated bibs will just fall right over this. There's nothing to get caught and stop them, so you got snow coming into your boot because you got stuff covering you up. Now the fit of this boot is really tricky because it's so big and lofty and comfortable, but start with your size. If you're a size 10, try this on in a size 10. Don't feel the need to move right into the wide width of this boot unless you know that you're a double E width. You've purchased boots before in double and triple E, then move into the wide width. But most of the time, the medium width on this boot is going to fit you perfectly. If it's a little tight at first, that's probably not the best thing because you got to remember when it comes to winter boots, if they're tight, they will not be warm because once you cut off blood flow and circulation to the foot, you lose all your ability to heat up the boot naturally with your own blood. So that's the Timberland Pro 8-inch Boondock insulated 600 grams of insulation. If you've ever worn this Timberland, please comment below. And if you've ever worn any of the Boondock in the Boondock series, comment below. Let guys know what you thought about the sole, about the pull-ons, about the general fit of the boot. Hey, if you want to know more information about the Boondock, you want to see some detailed photos of these little pull-ons or the eyelids or even the densities to the sole material here, stop by my website, thebootguy.com. There I'll have all those photos and maybe a few links to take you to a few different interesting places. Hey, please don't forget to watch the other Boondock video here that I did on the 6-inch Boondock. Though it's not insulated, it is a really nice summertime type boot. Please don't forget to hit my subscribe button below, and if you should have any questions, if you're about to buy a pair of Boondocks, or if you want to know more about winter insulated boots, shoot me over an email, pick my brain, see what I got to say about your next purchase of a nice pair of boots. Alright, until the next time, I'm the Boot Guy. Hey, thanks a lot for watching.